Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Rising, how are you? How is your day going today? It is the beginning of September. We move into Virgo season. The sun is in Virgo, we've got Mercury in Virgo, and this is a good thing. This is a great thing. The Capricorns, because Virgo energy is Earth energy. Earth energy trines Capricorn energy. So what we're gonna do, Capricorn, I'm gonna dive into your energy. We're gonna walk together energetically through your weather. We are going to take a look at the frequencies, the energies. We're going to take a look changes that are going to be happening this month, and then we're going to give you a sneak peek into the following month. But before we do any of that stuff, we got to talk about the full moon, which is right at the beginning of September. Now there's a video that's already out about that. Go watch it. I'm going to put it below. After you watch this video, go below and watch it because it shows you how this all looks on paper. Like you can see lines, you can see angles, you can hear additional information. At the beginning of the month, when we have this full moon, we have some beautiful things happening. We have earth energies lining up. And what that means is they have conversations, but they have beneficial conversations. Beneficial in terms of the material world, our job, our work, our income, our moolah. Capricorn Ascendant, this affects you directly because your ascendant is your body. It's who you are. It's how you appear. So when we look to your houses that have the other earth energies, this is your 5th house, which is your Taurus energy. Uranus is there right now. And then you've got your Virgo energy, right? Virgo energy is in your 9th house. And this is the house of my belief system. So this is like religion, philosophy on life, higher learning, higher knowledge, right? This is the house of I'm thinking about my future. The 9th house and having Virgo there means it's an interesting thing for you because you can see details, but you can also see the future. You can also see the big picture. You can also see from, the perspective of being up very high in the sky and being able to see the forest, right? But because you have Virgo energy there, Virgo energy allows you to see the trees within the forest. So for Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn Rising, a grand Earth trine is going to be a big deal. I want to talk about the understanding of your income and your money. Your 2nd house is the house of incoming. It's how you receive. It's what comes to you. You have Aquarius energy there all the time. Remember, your ascendant sign is your birth time. If you are new here, first of all, welcome and thank you. My name is G. You have made it to Allastrology. You are right where you belong. Here, we talk about each other, but in a good way. I understand who you are because I see you energetically. And what we can do is try to figure out the traits, the characteristics, the qualities of the time, of the frequencies and the emanations that are coming down for you. If you're an oldie and a goodie, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. I'm truly, truly honored. I'm humbled that you have faith in what's coming through and that you can know that you can trust it. You know that you can hear that all I'm trying to do is share what comes through. But the fact that you watch, it is important. I mean, trust is a big word, right? It takes time to develop that. And that's fair enough. I understand that. But you're giving me a shot. And that I am grateful for. Getting to your 2nd house. Income. So you have group energy there. If you know that your 2nd house involves groups of people and this is how you make money, this lets you know very quickly that you're not going to be the person who's going to be the one-on-one, right? Typically, your money isn't going to be all about just being the one-on-one stuff, okay? So when we talk about groups, does that mean you could be the leader of a group? It could be. Leader of a group in more of an authoritative way, right? You're somebody who people see as, hey, you're the boss, you're the one in charge. But there's something individual, unique, and extremely, it's the inventor energy. It's the Tesla energy. It's the, Benjamin Franklin. It's, all these great inventors. That kind of energy that comes through in that 2nd house. So this is the house of the scientist, not just the inventor, the scientist, right? So when we look at the second house energy for you, and this being what you value, intellect, thinking, intelligence, you're going to value that, but you also are going to value out of the box, right? Very untraditional ways of thinking, untraditional ways of income, because that's what Aquarian energy is. If you want to know more about that, all you got to do, if you have your own chart, all you got to do is find out where is your planet Uranus at. Because your planet Uranus is the ruler of this house, because you have Aquarian energy there. So when you go and look in your chart and you find Uranus, that planet that looks like the letter H, and it's got like that line down the middle, like an anchor almost type of thing, what you'll find is whatever sign it's in your chart, you can kind of weave the meanings of those, and that has everything to do, that starts to fill in the spaces of your second house and the meaning of how you make money and of what you value. Aquarian energy is also fixed energy. It's fixed air. So in other words, that means that what you value, you can be fixed, right? You don't want to budge, right? Like, no, this is important to me. This is what I value. This is what I cherish. And your thinking about it is going to be very stubborn. I don't want to budge. I know I'm right. I think I'm right. I'm intelligent. So obviously I must be right, right? It's that whole thing, this fixedness. And because it's fixed air, the air represents thinking. Okay, so fixed thinking. This is a big deal because Uranus is in Taurus right now. And Uranus in Taurus is fixed energy, which means Uranus is sending squares to your fixed air, your second house of money and income. Maybe no one's had a conversation about this. And I can't remember. There's always so much to talk about. But knowing that Uranus is squaring, what it wants you to do, it wants you to think outside of the box. Whatever was working before for you, you are having to reinvent your sources of income. Reinvent them. And they should reflect more of your unique individual self, your unique individual self. This will get you far. It'll get you very far. And as soon as you can wrap your mind around that, the rest is going to happen. Now, this is important. This is important because this month of September is all about the material, the tangible, the 3D, the money showing up and happening because we have a grand earth trine. Your first house is your physical appearance. It's you, it's your structure. But because it's Capricorn energy, it's what I've been working on for a long period of time. It's me, myself, and I. So me as a professional in the world, and it's getting a nice trine from your Taurus energy in your fifth house. Now, the fifth house is your creativity. Taurus energy in its creative mode can be grabbing the paint, grabbing a paintbrush. It can also be singing. It can also be using my hands and creating in the kitchen in terms of food. There's a lot of ways this can express. It's not limited to those, all right? Taurus is all about, because its ruler is Venus, think about this, making something or someone beautiful. That is Taurus energy. Taking some foods, putting them together, making something beautiful out of it. Visually beautiful, tastes beautiful because it rules the five senses. So this is in your fifth house. Now, this is the house of creating. This means you have a creative sign in a creative house. A lot of potential for creativity. Now, this can also be sexual creativity. The energy of creation just is. You choose how to use it. Sexual creation means it's the sacral area. It's at the lower part. And when I say lower, it doesn't mean bad, right? Understand your auras and the centers in the body. Your sacral area, the root chakra, what happens is as it expands, as it elevates, it comes up through the body. And what happens is you literally start opening up these other chakras in your system and you start activating them and they start moving and they start expressing and they start radiating. And what happens is it's all about how you use that energy. We all have it, but we have free will in how it comes out, how it expresses out of us. So Taurus energy, knowing it's all the five senses, okay? Taurus energy, taste, touch, smell, sight, hearing, it's all of that and more. Most folks don't talk about it, but the Taurus energy and its ability to receive, because Taurus energy is all about receiving. That's why it rules the senses, because it rules the second house. I know I'm not trying to confuse you, but it rules the second house. So it's this constant intake of information, of information from up there, information from people in your surroundings, information from food, from things you touch, from the environment, literally the temperature. So there's all these layers of sensitivity, but understanding that if your frequencies, as you raise them higher, then you will be in tune with the higher rays emanate and they come through. You will then be able to hear their sounds. You will be able to be in tune with their frequencies and get information from them. How you create can be making babies. It can be getting in the kitchen with a knife, with some ingredients, making something, baking, cooking, whatever your thing is. It can also be creating, get a paintbrush and you can paint, you can draw, you can get a piece of canvas, but you can also create by writing, having a beautiful sound come out of your mouth. Many famous musicians, singers have a lot of prominent things in the Taurus energy in their chart. Taurus energy, they have the eye of the bull, information, divine frequencies that come through. And what happens is as that energy, that creative energy comes up, it comes out here, it comes out here, and it needs to express. And because it's so close to the sign of Gemini, Taurus and Mercury are actually linked up. And so is this messenger of the gods frequency that comes through. And some would say voice of angels that come through. And so when you think about it rationally, it just makes sense. And well, we see it in life. So understanding your fifth house, Taurus energy. Now remember, this is also not just your creations as far as children and being creative, but it is also children, literally, like if you have children, right? So being creative with children. Okay, that can be a lot of different things. Can look a lot of different ways. Some people teach children how to cook. Some people have written a cookbook for children, art with children, right? So there's lots of different ways. You always have free will. Energies just come in. We choose how to use those energies, how we choose to let those express from our body, from our being. Now that Taurus energy in that fifth house, it's children, it's fun, it's creativity, it's romance. Romance, how you have fun with your body, right? Mating, dating, relating, that fifth house energy. So when we talk about your first house, your fifth house, they're talking, they're trining, right? So if good relations going on with children, right? But information coming through because Uranus is there, outside of the box thinking. And remember, I started talking in the beginning of this reading about your second house because you have Uranus there all the time. All right. So there's this ingenious way, this inventive way that you have with children, especially for the next 5 years, because this is where Taurus will be. It came into this placement in your fifth house of creation. So that might be you started having babies, but it can also be you've been getting these great downloads of information, right? Uranus is the mind of God coming through. It is information, stuff that we didn't think of because it comes through. The difference is, are your frequencies in tune with those frequencies? That's how it works. Your first house, your fifth house, and your ninth house of Virgo. And that brings me to September Virgo season for you. Virgo season, ideas coming in. The ninth house is that spiritual house, okay? If the sun is there and Mercury is there, Mercury is creating a great line of communication with the planet Saturn. And Saturn is all sitting with Jupiter and Pluto in your first house, right? You know this, Capricorn ascendants. What this has been doing with you for the last, you have been going through major physical transformations in your life. And this means things with the spine and your structure, because that's what Capricorn is. It's things it's organized structures in our life, right? But it is also business and banking, because when we think about society, anything within our society that somehow sets up structure. So that's our religion, that's our banking system, that's our businesses, that's our government, on a big scale. And so it's global, in other words. Having Saturn, having Pluto, having Jupiter, all this has been going on with you physically, but it means you're also changing and transforming, right? You're walking away from jobs, or jobs and you just no longer have anything to do with each other. There's separations, there's transformations. It's the Pluto energy. It's a death and a rebirth. It's a rising up out of the ashes. I had not too long ago, someone made a comment and they said they were at a job that they were at for a long time, but because of COVID, they lost the job. So they had to kind of reinvent themselves. They did a Pluto act, forced them out of their comfort zone. They ended up doing something different. Doing something different, they now make more money than they were making before, staying in their comfort zone. And that's what happens. And that's what Uranian energy is all about. It comes in and it says, you've been doing this for a long time. You've already mastered it. There's nothing else for you to learn. So we need you to do something else. Literally takes crystallized forms and it shatters them. It takes something, it takes the mold, the form, you got to pour the batter into a mold. Uranus comes along and it breaks that mold. And it says, you don't have a mold. You need to come up with something. I want to see something uniquely from you. That's Uranus. It shakes things up and it wants us to all of a sudden get to a point where we're like, I don't know what else to do. And then we just do it, right? Because we feel lost. And we end up honing in on something that was already there this entire time, like the diamond that was buried. We just needed to unearth it. Again, this talks about your income, your second house, Capricorn. And when we look at the energies for the beginning of September, there is this grand earth trine occurring. And it's your belief system. Remember the ninth house where you have your Virgo energy, the sun and Mercury there, a belief about something. Mercury's bringing information and it's getting information from Saturn. So what I like about this is this has to do with future work. Ninth house, first house, your fifth house, those are trining. Now the trine isn't going to stay forever, but there's information that comes through that can help you. So you take the information, start jotting stuff. I know I've been jotting stuff down because it seems like daily there's things that are coming in. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to remember this. So I have like these little things all over the damn place because I'm like, okay, I this was this and this. This is a great idea. And it's like, okay, but I'm in the middle of something, right? And so that's what happens. We get busy, but stuff comes through. Jot the stuff down. It will come through later on. There will be a way to connect those dots and to make stuff happen. These are tough times we're in. September brings some very rough stuff. We have Mars standing still. This happens on the 9th, 8th/9th. Mars will stand still. Now remember, Mars is a trigger planet. It's pretty difficult. It heats things up. It's a fighter. It's very frustrated. And it's our physical body. Thank God I have the knowledge of this to kind of help me guide me through these waters and to better understand, okay, this is that. This isn't going to be forever, but I know it's going to be tricky. And I have to be cognizant of what's going on. And I have to plan. And so understanding where your Aryan energy is, okay, is in your fourth house. All right, I've got that here for you. Aryan energy is in your fourth house. What you want to do is look for 28 degrees of Mars in Aries, 28 degrees of Aries specifically, because that's where Mars is at. I'm looking at a tropical Placidus house system, but when I read and when I speak in terms of a whole house system. So in essence, I combine both, and it is complicated. I don't expect you to know that. That's what I'm here for. If you want to know, comment your stuff below, and I will take care of that for you. I can find out what house gets triggered, because when Mars stands still, it intensifies. Remember, Mars is frustrated. Mars lacks thinking. Mars is the ego. Now, I know this sounds like I'm talking down about Mars. I'm not talking down about Mars. We have to all be really aware of our Martian energy because its strength is insane. It was born a fighter. It came out of the womb holding a knife in each hand. That's just what it was born for. It was born for war. When you understand that, you know that in your life, there are times when you need that energy. And there are times when you don't. Think first before you act. So you realize, okay, this is kind of a battle, but this is a battle I'm not willing to engage in. I'm going to step back and walk away from that battle. Knowing when to engage is genius. Be the genius that you are. When do I need Mars? But most times, that fighting aspect should be your last resort. Understanding how to control Mars will be important. Mars has energetic bursts. If you feel it, if you see it in yourself, if you know there are moments when all of a sudden someone says something and it just triggers something in you, somebody said something and it wasn't anything mean, but it triggered something in me. And I said something that was real Martian-like. I wasn't cutting towards them. I wasn't angry. I felt hot. I have something to say and I don't care what anyone thinks. It was just all of a sudden, it was just this, you're all of a sudden you're standing real tall and you feel very powerful. And it was a moment like that. And what I said, what came out wasn't mean. It was the tone of what I said. And I was talking about myself, but I did end it with, and I don't care what anyone thinks about that. That is how I ended it. And while I was saying it, I was aware of it. And I was like, you're like paying attention to yourself and you're like, okay, am I saying this? Like, and there wasn't really any reason. It shocked me. It like came out of nowhere. And that was Mars, because Mars is like crawling. It's at a snail's pace, right? And so you could engage with people where somebody says something and all of a sudden it's like out of nowhere, like you were fine 1 minute, and then all of a sudden you just elevated and you were on 10. That's Mars. You just go from a nice cool blue to fiery red. If you say something that comes out and you go over it in your mind, because Mars will just have you going like that. I didn't mean anything mean by it, but my Mars came out. And so when Mars shows up, you have to find out. You have to ask yourself, what I said, was that appropriate? What I said, was it necessary? Did it need to be said like that? Understanding the power of this, of your Mars energy in your fourth house. I'm hoping that gave you a good example of what Mars energy in the fourth house can look like, can feel like. In the home, that's the fourth house. It's my emotional home, just as much as the physical home. Just as much. The fourth house is your emotional stability. And so having fiery Aryan energy there, people with Aries in their fourth, it's like they're always moving stuff around. They like to change things up. They always want to start things in the home. My dad was always great for starting projects in the home. I'm one of 12 kids. There was always stuff broken and, think about that, right? So he was always trying to, fix this, fix that, fix this, a hole in the wall over here, paint it, like do all that. Aries energy is someone who would always be starting stuff in the home, right? Being very physical in the home. Might not be so great on finishing those things, though. Aries loves to start. Doesn't mean they like to finish, right? They're the initiator. And that's why we call them the first one out of the gate. They're so fast and they're so gung-ho, but they typically don't have the staying power. Okay, so this is good information to understand. All right, understanding going forward that with that fiery Aryan energy and Mars standing still, you're going to feel it even more. And so you don't want to have fights in the home, right? You don't want your mental world to be in turmoil, right? Cancer energy, this is Venus energy right now. And Venus is helping you because it's your relationships energy, right? You have Venus there. And Venus being in your relationships means there is some sense of peace that you get. It gives you an emotional stability when you have significant one-on-one relationships, all right? And so having those relationships will help you to stay balanced, will help you to feel emotionally just good, emotionally satisfied. Nurture those things. But just as important, nurture self. Make sure yourself is nurtured before you nurture somebody else. But you have to be around individuals who are nurturing, because September is another big month, folks. Things heat up in September. They just do. First of all, Mars on the 9th stands still. Then we're going to have Jupiter standing still, 12th/13th. So when a planet stands still, all of a sudden its power becomes stronger. But it's in Earth. And Capricorn, for you, this is good. This is good. What I want you to be aware of is that when you have a trine, an Earth trine, okay, all of a sudden there's an ease that comes in your life. Now, trines can be setups, because what happens is if we have a trine and something just falls in our lap, we sometimes forget. We take for granted what we got because it just fell in our lap. But if you've been someone who's been working very hard, you're going to love this, because you're like, oh my God, I've been working so hard. Thank God this finally went through, right? Just be very careful to make sure that you know that everybody's under this Mars influence. Everybody. Not just you, everybody. Like you have it in your home. Some people have it in their relationship placement in their 7th house, and that's difficult, right? And some people have it in depending upon a whole bunch of other stuff. We all have Mars getting fired up in our life. And I'm sweating just talking about Mars. And it's like gorgeous out. It's beautiful. It's cool. The breeze is blowing. It's like a perfect 72 degrees. We have to get to the end of the month. All right. What's going to happen is we're going to see changes occurring. I want you to think back. April, think back to spring. What was going on in your life in springtime? But what's occurring energetically is there's some major similarities here. And those major similarities will bring up many of the same things that we all have already experienced back in the spring. And being aware of that means that you can understand that this is a part of the process. This is part of the process. People are getting angry. People are getting frustrated. There's rules. We have people who don't want to follow the rules. We have people who are following the rules who are upset because there are people who aren't following the rules. It's a very complex thing. Not to mention there's a lot of other stuff going on right now. There's a lot of abuses of power that we're seeing. And so there's a lot of anger. And there's a lot of astrological things that emphasize this. Mercury's going to be opposing Chiron, which is in Aries energy, right? And this is our deepest emotional wound about our bodies. So it's going to be combative. Things are going to heat up. Things are going to be combative. And knowing how to establish peace in your life will go a long way. Knowing what sort of safe and best practices you need for your emotional security will help you. But knowing that we have that beautiful, sweet trine will be wonderful, right? There's always something good to find, right? Life is challenging, but it is our job to be the creator of our life. It is our job to take our life in our hand. You know, we have to understand that we have to choose. We have to choose what we want to do with the energy. We have to choose what perspective we want to take. We have to choose what we want to see in our life. There's tons of things. It's a big old bucket. You can pull out the bad and just look at only the bad, yucky, nasty looking stuff. Or you can say, hey, there's something cool that looks all right there. I can rinse that off and be like, hey, this isn't half bad. I can do something with this. It might not be ideal, but I can do something with it. And this is what this is, a test of. Find out what is something you can work with and work with it. Stay focused. Keep the nose to the grindstone. Find ways to stay safe. Find ways to be healthy. Find ways to make sure that you know who's important in your life and that you guys are checking in on each other, doing what it is that you need to do to secure emotional satisfaction. There may be additional rules that come into place. There is something that has to do with your body, right? So it's somebody saying, hey, there's these rules that we have to follow. Likely it could have to do with work because that's what Capricorn energy is. It's our career. You may be hearing, okay, now we have to do this. Now we have to do that. These energies have a lot of different ways they can express some different things we're told to do. Can we do what is the best? What is the highest and the best for the group? What is the highest and the best for all involved? Neptune says, I'm going to put you through trying times. Do you have faith? Will you have faith? This is a time of having faith, but also being the critical, independent thinker. That is the test. To do both. Can you do it?